Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's National Dinosaurs Day, Tony.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Shout out to Louis Carnesecca. No, wait. Shout out to UB Brown. Shout out to me. Shout out to Marv. I mean, we're all sort of dinosaurs, right, Mike? We're all sort of dinosaurs.
You threw Marv in there at the end. A throwaway line right under the bus to Marv. Marv just does his last game, and here you are taking a shot.
I think Marv is going to feel good about this. He's in the club. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Heat eye Kyle Lowry. Simone Biles plans to compete in the balance beam, and a relative unknown wins the 100-meter dash. But we begin today with news out of Indianapolis Colts training camp that Carson Wentz will undergo surgery for an injury to his left foot. And Colts coach Frank Reich says Wentz will be out between 5 and 12 weeks. That's a pretty big spread. Apparently, the injury dates all the way back to high school. If it's 5 weeks, Wentz will be back near the start of the season. If it's 12, it's halfway through. Wilbon, is this the right decision, and where does it leave the Colts?
I mean, there's no decision. I mean, if you've got this injury, you have the surgery. I mean, that's the deal. But Carson Wentz has had these injuries, Tony, that have just undermined his availability for his entire career. There have been concussions. There have been knee injuries. There have been broken ribs. There's been all kinds of stuff. And I'm not going to say he's fragile. I'm not going to be critical of Carson Wentz on that level. Pro football is not for every single body's body. You know what I mean? I mean, you might be a pretty tough guy. You got to be a very tough guy to play pro football, but it doesn't mean you can do it in one piece year after year after year. And when you play quarterback, that undermines your team, even if you're doing the best you can. So all the best to Carson Wentz in getting through this latest injury. Does it really impact the Colts season? Yes, it does.
So let's answer the direct question here. Where does it leave the Colts? It leaves them nowhere, and it leaves them without a paddle. I'm going to read the names of the people who are the backup quarterbacks at the moment. Jacob Eason, a fourth-round pick. Sam Ehlinger, a rookie from Texas. Jake Morton, undrafted from Prairie View. And Brett Hundley, who's been around from UCLA and has done nothing for years. I think they got to go to the Chicago Bears and get Nick Foles. That's a formula that works. You get Nick Foles, you put him in for Carson Wentz. You have Andy Dalton there. You got Justin Fields there. So Nick Foles ought to be available. I look at this and I wonder, Mike, was Carson Wentz born under a bad sign? Because he was really good as a rookie. The next year, and these stats are impressive, the year that Philadelphia went to the Super Bowl and won it, when he was a starter, he was 11-2. He had 33 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions. He was mobile. He was athletic. That whole Wentzylvania thing was working. And from then on, nothing, Mike. Nothing. Even the new coach that came into the Eagles, Nick Sirianni, do I have that name right? Yeah. People thought he would be the salvation for Carson Wentz because he worked with Frank Reich at one point, and Reich had been so good with Wentz. He got rid of him. He didn't even want him. He didn't even want the guy.
Tony, it doesn't matter what your record is. It doesn't matter any of that. It matters if you can get out there. The history of pro football is littered with talented people and a quarterback we notice more. I'm not going to say there are more quarterbacks. We notice more who can't be out there because what you're doing is being bludgeoned week by week. All right? By mammoth people. And so everybody can't stay out there. So to that degree, I feel for Carson Wentz. I don't know what it means for the Colts because we don't know if any of these people are any good.
Let me give you their first 5 games. Their first 5 games. Yeah. Seahawks, Rams, Titans, Dolphins, Ravens. Each one of those teams with at least 10 wins last year.
Mashers. Yeah. They got mashers. They put quarterbacks out of business. That's the business they chose. NBA free agency negotiations can officially begin. They're already happening behind the scenes. In about 25 minutes, the Miami Heat reportedly are the front runners to land Kyle Lowry in a sign and trade that could involve Goran Dragic and Precious Achiuwa. Tony, would the addition of Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, put the Heat right there with the Bucks and the Knicks? I'm sorry, not the Knicks, the Nets. You wish it was the Knicks.
It'll put them ahead of the Knicks, but it's not going to put them even with the Nets, and it's not going to put them even with the Bucks. The Nets, and I understand we say this all the time, if the Nets are healthy, they're the best. They're just the best. They got 3 first-team All-NBA guys and 2 MVPs. So, no. In terms of the Bucks, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, the Bucks swept Miami, avenged last year's playoff, swept them out of this year's playoff. Significantly better team than this Miami Heat team, and they return everybody. Kyle Lowry's a fine player. He's also, I think, 35 years old. I don't know at this point that he's that much better than Goran Dragic. Last year, Mike, 17 points and 7 assists a game. It's fine, but no, it doesn't get them above either of those teams. No.
Well, Tony, it's not the numbers. I mean, we wouldn't assess Chris Paul by the numbers. And Kyle Lowry, he might not be Chris Paul, okay? But in the larger conversation, look, Kyle Lowry was the most important player. Not the best player. He was the most important player on the Toronto Raptors when they won a championship 2 years ago.
No, he wasn't.
Let me just mention this.
Kawhi Leonard was.
No,
he wasn't.
Kawhi Leonard was the best player. He wasn't the most important player because he didn't actually speak a syllable to his teammates. You're wrong. James Harden was the best player on the Rockets 3 years ago, but Chris Paul was the most important player. Kyle Lowry was the most important player. Now, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, if they get DeMar DeRozan, keep Tyler Hero to play with Bam and Jimmy Butler, they can be right back in the mix. They can, Tony. The East teams are not that greatly separated. I give you that the Nets would be the favorite. But you know what? The Nets are about as healthy as Carson Wentz. So don't preach to me about the Nets just yet. The Miami Heat, if they keep all those people, can slide back into that upper tier.
Here's what happened to Toronto after they won a championship that maybe at some point would be considered one of the more fluky championships. When they lost Kawhi Leonard in 2 seasons, Mike, they went from 58-24 to 27-44. They're a one and done. I'm not sure Kyle Lowry can change anybody else's fortunes. We move on. Perhaps the most surprising result in the Olympics so far is that Lamont Marcel Jacobs of Italy is now the world's fastest human. Not only had fans not heard of him, other runners in the same 100-meter race, like American Fred Curley, did not know who Jacobs was. Who he turned out to be was the guy standing up here on the gold platform while Curley stood down there on the silver platform. Wilbon, how surprised were you that this guy won?
Tony, it's pretty shocking. I mean, this is a sport, again, an Olympic sport that you and I have followed as closely as we've followed anything in our lives for 40-plus years each, okay? And so there's a transition. The guy who was close last time or in the World Championships last year, that guy tends to inch up with other people inching up on him. Right. And you know it. No one comes out of nowhere. But, Tony, Lamont Marcel Jacobs, he was 19th in the World Championships previously. And so you had the American Fred Curley, you had the Canadian Andre DeGrassi. I mean, you had a U.S. runner who did terribly in the trials, Trayvon Bromwell. But all of these people figured to be, you know, on the short list of names you look for the fastest man on the planet title. Yeah. And then you get a dude who finished 19th. Right, nobody knows. He was born in El Paso. Moved when his mom moved him when he was like a few years old to Italy for basically the rest of his life. 6 months old.
6 months old.
It's a great story, Tony, and it came out of nowhere because, as you said, people in the race were going, who?
Yeah. So it's one of those stories that we fear is too good to be true. And I'll leave that to everybody's imagination.
I know where you're going. Be careful.
Here's what this fella did. What this fella did, his fastest time as of last year was 10.03. Yeah. You run 10.03, Mike, you do not even qualify for the finals of the trials in the United States of America. So you and DK Metcalf of Seattle are out in the streets somewhere because you're not running in this. And then he runs a 9.80. He runs a 9.80. Look, it's a fabulous story. He's a big, thick guy. He looks more like a power forward than a sprinter. His backstory that his mom and dad separated. His mom took him to Italy when he was 6 months old. He doesn't speak hardly any English at all. He speaks Italian. Maybe he and his father, who have never met since that point, will agree to meet. And it'll be a wonderful, wonderful story. And it's one of those stories that makes the Olympics what it is. And again, it's so great. You just want it to be a great story.
I know where you're going because I've sat next to you at those races, and there's been a different result a couple days later. I'm not going near him. By the way, he and his dad in the last year have met, and he has been quoted as saying
a piece I read.
A piece I read this morning. Well, when I say met, maybe corresponded, but they've been in contact now after having no contact. It is an incredible story. Tony, let's just hope we can celebrate the story as we know it right now with no postscripts. How about that?
He never has to win another race, Mike. He won the gold.
No, he won the one that matters.
Do you know how long the list of great Italian sprinters is? There is no list. It's this guy. That's all there are. Let's take a break. Coming up, how should Wilbon feel about his beloved former Cubs all homering in their first games with their new teams?
What about this guy and Franco Harris? Is Franco Harris on the list? And what should we expect from Simone Biles as she plans to compete in the balance beam?
He's built like Franco Harris.
He is built like Franco.
He's big. You've got issues, people, and we are here to address them. Let me see what's first as we do mail time. Here we go. What expectations should we have for Simone Biles on the balance beam?
Tony, I'm not going to try to speak for anybody else. I don't have expectations. I don't mean I have no expectations or they're low considering all that she's been through. I mean, I don't have any. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to understand to my core what she's going through, any of it. You can sympathize with it, but I don't have any understanding of it in terms of what this means to her ability to perform. I'm not going to FanDuel or DraftKings to, get down on it or take any action there. I don't know. I may watch it live. I may try to see it live. I may not. I just feel for her and all that she's been through, and I don't have any expectations. I'm glad she's competing. If that's what she wants to do, expectations, zero.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have no expectations. I don't think anybody should, and I think it's possible that during warm-up she says, nah, I'm not right, and she doesn't perform. I mean, and
that would be okay,
that you have
too.
To consider. Yeah. And I agree with that. What we have seen so far is she's been cheering on her teammates, and her teammates have done great.
Yeah, they
got silver in the team competition. They got a couple of golds, a silver and a bronze in the individual competition. Simone Biles doesn't need another gold medal. She got a whole bunch of gold medals. What I hope for, Mike, and I'm sure you agree, is whatever happens when it's done, she's content with what happened.
Yes. Amen.
Right?
Sign off on that. Absolutely.
Here we go. Are you okay with the two high jumpers choosing to share their gold rather than going to a jump off?
Tony, at first, my immediate old man reaction to this is not what the Olympics should be. You go out there, and if you fall out on the track or the field or the court trying to win and beat everybody else in the field, that's what you do. That was my first reaction. And I'm like, wait a minute. We've talked all week about stress and pressure and trying to figure out what is best for a particular competitor. And you know what? There's not a gold medal. There's not a medal they can get that's higher than gold, right? I mean, what could they get? Is there a platinum medal? There's no platinum medal. So they got gold. Enough. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. So it's a lovely story. It's a story about friendship. It's a story about camaraderie that bridges borders and all of that. But I'm going to take the old man point of view that you have abandoned. And I'm going to remind you of your friend Michael Jordan. Do you think Michael Jordan would have ever said the following? It's so great that Clyde Drexler just made the finals. We don't have to play anymore. Let's both be champions. Okay, Michael Jordan wouldn't have done that. And you would have gone crazy if he did. I'm going to remind people, it's okay if they do this. They don't give out 2 green jackets at the Masters. Me, I would have said, let's jump for a while, kids. Let's just see. That's what I would have said.
Got the gold.
Last one.
I mean, gold is gold.
Understand that. Here we go. This is personal. Should Wilbon be happy or bitter about the 3 ex-Cubs homering in their debuts with their new teams?
As I told you this morning on your podcast, I don't care. I'm not watching them. This is the first clip I've seen of them. I'm not going to watch them. I'm not going to watch the Cubs at all the rest of this year. If they win 10 in a row, I'm not going to watch them because they're not going to win 10 in a row. So, no, I understand what they did. I understand what Rizzo did and like his second at bat. I understand what KB did. There are certain people wandering around and they're bitter because I'm not bitter. I don't wish them any ill will. I don't even wish the Cubs any ill will. How could I? I've followed them since I was 5 years old. But I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to pay attention. I don't care. No amount of badgering and poking the bear cub can make me care because I don't.
This is interesting because on the podcast you said that you were a little bit surprised at the depth of anger and sadness in the streets of Chicago when they got rid of these guys, even though you agreed from a baseball perspective that that was the right play.
Yes.
You also told me your brother Don says he's never rooting for this team again.
This is a quote.
Which you said is ridiculous.
Done. He says, I'm done. My son and my brother have said, I never again. I don't believe either one of them.
Okay, so I take this from a Nats perspective. The Nats, in about a 24-hour period, lost their best pitcher, their starting shortstop, their starting second baseman, their best home run hitter, their catcher, and even if you didn't like the bullpen, the entire back half of the bullpen. And what did I do the last 3 nights? Hating what happened? I watched them play the Cubs, 2 AAA teams. Because when you're a fan, you have sadness, but you persevere. We are through with your issues.
I don't persevere.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, the top-rated high school quarterback decides to skip.
Israel, remember when you said something was huge, potentially large? We have 2 pieces of substantial, potentially impactful news of the day from the NFL. First, in Philadelphia, first-round pick Devontae Smith sprained MCL. Timeline on that is week to week. His frame was the question in the draft. That doesn't go away here. And Carson Wentz and the Colts reportedly weighed the options of foot surgery all last week, have decided to go under the knife. Wentz out anywhere 5 to 12 weeks. His debut with Indy to start the season very much in doubt. What position does that put Wentz and the Colts in, Bill Plaschke?
Devastation, utter devastation. They had the toughest schedule in the league the first 5 weeks of the season. The Seahawks, Rams, Titans, Dolphins, and Ravens. They have really no backup with any experience. Andrew Luck. Are you listening? Where are you, Andrew Luck?
You go straight to Andrew Luck here? You go straight to devastation here?
I go straight to Andrew Luck. The whole season is, they've done everything right. To have this happen is so unfortunate.
I'm going to ask for a new graphic to be made. You know, I've got the fire here. You know, I've got the cheese here. You know, I've got, the algorithm here. Alarms, because Bill Plaschke is the most alarmed panelist we have. Let's go, Israel Gutierrez.
Okay. It would be devastation if you had so high expectations for Carson Wentz. All you're really banking on is him being together with Reich again and then maybe recovering that second year quality. I don't think you were going to get that from him. In fact, I think you probably should look elsewhere, period, because there's backups out there that can keep your team afloat. A Gardner Minshew from Jacksonville would probably be better for you right now than a Jacob Eason. And then, 5, 10, 15 weeks from now, maybe you get Carson Wentz back and can go ahead with that.
Expectations were high for Wentz in Indy, right? And they made the move. They gave up something for him, Kevin Blackstone.
Yeah, but they were
5 to 12 weeks. Could be just missing the preseason. Go ahead.
Yeah, 5 to 12 weeks. That's such a large window. That's why I'm on Team Plaschke here. This is out of the playoffs right now for this team. I mean, it's not even close. They've got one quarterback on their roster right now, Brett Hundley, who's ever been in an NFL game. So to Izzy's point, now they probably got to go out and get somebody else. You just can't roll Jason Eason out there and expect to pick up where you thought Carson Wentz could take you. So this is a really tough break for them. You feel bad for them after all they've gone through with quarterbacks.
The panic room is built for 2, Blackstone and Plaschke. Jackie Mack, where are you with news about Wentz's surgery?
No padded walls where I'm sitting, Tony. No padded walls at all. 5 to 12 weeks. Let's say it's closer to 5 weeks. As you said, he only misses maybe 1, maybe 2 games tops. And this team is built with a great offensive line. You're going to ask Jacob Eason to hand the ball off to the running back for 2 to 3 weeks. I think he can handle that. And I think you're going to tell people 5 to 12 weeks because of Wentz's injury history. And people always saying, oh, the guy's never healthy, he can't be on the field. They're giving him a cushion.
Gutierrez is saying it's over. Plaschke back in. Last word.
Do you really think Carson Wentz is going to be the lower part of 5 to 12 weeks?
Well, I don't know. Nor should we be guessing about anybody's
We have no idea.
But don't you know that Nick Foles right now is the third-string quarterback in Chicago? You can make a deal, reunite him with Frank Reich. Wentz and Foles together did all right when they were together. Anybody concerned real quick about Devontae